speaking to you at this moment, those that have the impact to fund those that are dealing in mental wellness, that are dealing with accessibility, that are dealing with safety and privacy and ethics, that have these extraordinary women leader groups in AI and more. I would like for them to be more funded. As much as we fund these data centers, might we fund the human heart? May our gather be well.
Hello and welcome to GatherVerse Summit 2026 Day 2, and it's great to have each and every one of you with us. We have an amazing roundtable coming up with us. Noel, Stefan, Don, Anar, so many fantastic people. But on this roundtable discussion, we're going to be talking about innovation and obligation, the duties of those who build. This is going to be a very interesting discussion, very insightful, and I'm very excited to be having this discussion with each and every one of you. Now, panelists, if I could just ask you to make sure that you mute your microphones once you finish talking each time, just so that we don't get a feedback or disruption or anything like that. That'd be very much appreciated. And our audience, this is going to be such a, we're going to be here for the next 50 minutes or so, having so much interesting discussion about innovation and obligation. So what we're going to do is we're going to do quick introductions. We're going to go to Nowen, Stefan, Serini, Don, Anar, and Kat, and then we'll get into the questions. So Nowen, please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Russell. Hi, everybody. I'm very happy to be with you today. Who I am is very hard question, to be fair. But what I can explain to you, it is I am a woman in tech since 20 years. I started my career in data center market. I work in industry, in airports, in buildings, so many different approach and sectors. Now I have my own company, so IDO, and we support all other company, especially SME, to lead the transition. So we create with them their vision, their strategy, action plan, to be sure that we align and exist in 20 years, next 20 years. That it is our aim, because we're an emergent technology. So from low tech to deep tech. So sometimes it could be strange, but yes, this is who I am and with my team.
The one, you do so much stuff. Every time I speak to you, I just seem to learn more and more about you. But anyway, thank you for joining us, the one. Stefan, great to see you once again. Please introduce yourself for those who don't know who you are.
Hey, everybody. I'm Stefan Youngblood. I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina. I always like to put this out there that I have 3 kids and 5 grandkids. So I come into this place with a different angle sometimes than some founders. I run the National AI Literacy Center as well as the Black AI think tank. And we're developing HBCU.ai right now as this unbelievable interface between humans and agents. Very excited about that. And I basically help to develop ecosystems for the underserved and underrepresented community. I do this full time, all the time. And I also run a nonprofit that works with the homeless right in Raleigh. And I help to integrate technology even into that right now. So I love this part. I love being involved with this life and bringing humanity and compassion to this space. So thanks for having me here.
And Stefan, it's great to see you as always. And once again, great to have you on board with us. Serini, please introduce yourself. I hope you don't mind me calling you Serini. It's just so much easier for me to say, but I will change that if you need me to. But please introduce yourself.
Thanks, Russell. I was wondering from our last roundtable whether you can catch my name. This time you did it correctly. So I'm glad. Okay, yeah. Greetings, everyone. And my name is Srini. I'm director of technology portfolio at SPL Consulting. We do a lot of cloud and AI implementation across different clients. I'm passionate about technology. That's one of the reasons why I'm here, to share my ideas and also learn a lot from you. Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when we last spoke, Serena, you had so much interesting insights that you shared last time. So I'm excited to hear more from you again on what you want to share this time. Don, please introduce yourself and also welcome to GatherVerse.
Hi, I'm Don Carson. I'm the Senior Art Director at Mighty Coconut. We're the producers of the very humble Walkabout Mini Golf, which is a virtual reality miniature golf game. Our little game is mini golf only on the surface. Really, the reason we created it is as an opportunity to get humans all over the world to get together and socialize within the context of a story-driven environment. My background is both in theme park design and virtual world design, and we're just making places for people to reconnect with other human beings.
Absolutely, such an important part that you play there, Don, and thank you so much for being with us as well. Anar, please introduce yourself as well, and also welcome to GatherVerse.
Hi everybody, it's great to be here. My name is Anar, and I'm a head of product at Polygraph AI. We're building a suite of AI security products, and we're targeting sensitive environments to basically help them integrate AI without the risks of AI. So yeah, it's a great pleasure to be here. Thanks.
And it's great to have you with us as well. And it looks like we've lost one, but never mind. I'll quickly introduce myself. My name is Russell. I am the co-founder of Just Verify and also Global Affairs Director at GatherVerse. Let me just get my words right. And at Just Verify, we're focused on building the trust infrastructure for AI. We're focusing on allowing individuals and companies to have a verifiable way in which they are able to trust AI in a nutshell. And, we continuously verify, how the models behave and perform, etc., and giving you that first-hand evidence so that you can choose on what you want to trust and not. And Kat King, please introduce yourself and also welcome back.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay. Fantastic. Well, hi everybody. I'm Kat King, and I am the creator and producer of a sci-fi XR project called Glass Stars, and I'm also building an AR companion system for that called Perceptor, which is focused on perception support and cognitive safety. If you don't already know who I am at all, let me just tell you right now, I'm a disabled Army veteran. I live with treatment-resistant schizophrenia. That includes chronic psychosis, hallucinations, visual, tactile, all kinds, all manner of them. I've lived with it for over half my adult life now since leaving the military. And so when we talk about trust in technology, I started off my whole life as a writer, theater, drama kid, and then I joined the Army, and it changed the way I perceive. It just shifted my whole perception of the world. Of course, I was very young. So when we talk about immersive technology, I'm not speaking abstractly at all. I'm speaking of from a place of lived experience where I understand what it feels like when perception shifts without your consent. And so for me, the glass...
Kat, I'm just going to jump in because we will get around to the questions and into the discussion. Don't worry.
Sure. No worries.
Obviously, we want to know who you are, Kat. And, by the way, I will say this. We really appreciate your service as an Army veteran and what you have done in your services in general. So we really appreciate that. And thank you for also joining us today. And we will get into those discussions. Don't worry, we'll come back around to you and we'll get into the discussion very shortly. So let's get into the first question. So question one, how do cost infrastructure or accessibility quietly exclude capable builders, and how can that be addressed? So Nguyen, we'll start with yourself. Since you have over 20 years of almighty experience, more than I have in my lifetime. So please tell us, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so thank you. So first of all, we should define one thing, what is innovation? Because there's different approach about innovation. We have tech innovation, and including in tech innovation, we have low tech, high tech, deep tech. We have incremental or disruptive innovation. So it's not the same approach and the same thing. And then you have social innovation, process innovation. So when we discuss about obligation, first we have to know which kind of innovation we discuss. That is just to give you. Me, I am a woman in tech. Clearly, I am more about, and I know more this market about tech innovation. I will take my life, okay, as an example. So as I said, it is 20 years I am in data center market, in a UPS market at the beginning. And then energy efficiency and all things around that, and we do produce that. To be fair, it's not very easy to enter in this market when you produce some product for this market, like GPU, like servers, like that, because you have different law, national law, international law, so that it is entry barriers. Some people can be frustrated because it seems like a market very only for big company, to be fair. But in the same time, it is to secure the system. So when you discuss about trust, we have to understand norms and standards. They're not here to block everybody. It's just to be sure the system will be enough robust. And especially in data center, because in data center market, we have different tier. So tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4. It's not the same if you are in hospital, or if you're in finance market, or if you're only a small company. We don't need the same redundancy. So when you are in this market, especially, we have plenty law and norms, and you have to understand the global ecosystem. So if you want to go on this market, the first thing you have to do, it is to understand the global ecosystem of this market, because if you don't do that, you will never enter this market. So it means understand the association, understand the law in your continent, but also the law in Russia, the law in Europe, the law in China, because on your product, you have to write something and you have to make some tests. If you don't make this test, it will be never possible to sell your product on another country. So,
Okay.
and so I think I will give you another example. So that is my.
I'm going to jump in, Loan, because I want to kind of realign to a bit more towards the question. I understand what you're saying. You have a very, very good point. But when we're talking about, how does the cost of infrastructure or accessibility quietly exclude the builders, and how is that addressed? I'm assuming you're getting to a point there, but I just kind of want to realign it and say towards this question. How do we answer that? How do we with the cost of infrastructure and accessibility, how do we solve that? If that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. So if you want to invest, it is investment, but it is a long-term investment.
Okay.
So it's very long-term investment. So you don't think it's not possible to imagine your ROI will be in the next 3 years when you develop a product in this kind of market. It's because it's not apps, it is physical product. Okay.
So that was the point before. Okay, I understand.
Yeah. So me, I launch many products. So, but physical product, and in this product we can have some software, something like that. But at the beginning, it is hardware product. So it's very specific. It's not the same approach. It's not the same business model also. And sometimes people, when they try to sell the hardware product, they don't understand the cost, especially due to hardware business, because they imagine it is the same as apps. And we do Scrum and do something. No. We have manufacturing, we have logistic, we have CCC. So the cost is very high, to be fair.
No, that makes sense. That does make sense. Yeah.
And give you another example with startup. So in Europe, I met them 1 month ago. In Europe, when you launch a new product, IoT product, okay, you have to follow a norms. It is Cyber Resilience Act, okay. If you don't follow this regulation, it will be not possible to launch your product in Europe.
Correct.
So when you develop new product, when you discuss about innovation, you have to consider all aspects, not only your product. Oh yes, it's a good idea, we'll do that, and we have all of our use case. You have to integrate in your business plan all finance costs linked to the test and link the infrastructure.
Correct. It needs to be aligned when it comes to compliance, for sure.
Yeah, it is for the compliance. And it is thanks to this compliance, we have trust on the product.
Correct. Kat, I want to bring this question over to you, and thank you, Noelle, for sharing your thoughts there. Kat, I want to bring you on this conversation because obviously you just briefly mentioned about trust and stuff like that, but I kind of want to give you like a different question, Kat, which is, how can diversity of perspective strengthen responsible innovation from your point of view, Kat? Because you have a very unique background and a very different aspect and perspective from a lot of other people. So, what are your thoughts on that, Kat?
Thank you for the question. It's a great question. I think really from my point of view, it just is about. Actually, kind of will tie in with what our other guests are saying, our panelists are saying already, which is that trust will come through compliance and law, but if the law doesn't include people like me, people who have perceptual disturbances, and I'm not the only one. I mean, perceptual disturbances can affect people who don't have schizophrenia. Anybody can really be affected by psychosis, and sometimes the intensity of the systems that I have already experienced, like I love gaming, I love film, I love all of that fun stuff, but I also know that there are certain systems that my cognitive system up here can't really handle. So the question will always come down to, for me, first of all, I'm just the average day, everyday person here. I was homeless, so when Stefan introduced himself, I was like, I have had the experience of who can afford that hardware, who has the internet that can support that hardware or that headset. The headsets cost hundreds of dollars. I don't have money for that. And how do they serve to help me stay grounded in the objective world around me when there's already so much visual noise? So from that perspective, I just know that it's important that we think about who can afford it, who has access, who has a safe space to experiment, and who has the time that's not already consumed by survival. When as an American citizen, I can tell you right now, there's been a lot of reporting on the average American can't afford a $300 emergency.
Wow.
So
that's crazy.
I'm one of those people. So until recently, when the VA approved me for disability compensation after all that time, I couldn't have come to any of those conferences. I couldn't have flown out to LA, or I'm in Seattle. And I couldn't have flown anywhere to come speak at any of these events. I'm so grateful to GatherVerse for hosting this online and giving me the access to be able to speak here today. So if we want broader, the question is, who is it for? Who is this all for? And if it is to try to reach the most people possible as quickly as possible, we've already failed, because so much of our technology isn't reliable. I have to use ChatGPT or LLMs to help me communicate in writing a lot of the time, but coherently. So when it comes back to trust and compliance and laws, you're absolutely right when you say, oh yeah, it depends on what the law is in Russia, and it depends on what the law is in South Korea, and they could be completely different. And a lot of it will come back to who are they leaving out of their compliance laws? Who's people, who are the minority or marginalized groups who these laws are not supporting or uplifting or acknowledging that we exist, and that if we start just painting our surroundings with all this new visual noise, especially with augmented reality, which I use, I feel like we just have to be careful and mindful about who we're impacting with this technology. And I do see disclaimers. I see disclaimers, but the disclaimers are long, they're wordy, it's all legal jargon that the average person with an 8th grade education in the United States isn't going to A, sit still for to pay attention to, and B, it's just so long and complicated. So it's at the corporate level, at the nonprofit level, everybody has to ask ourselves, what are we doing this for? Who is it for? And then grant pathways that don't require elite institutional backing. Allow people like me to come to the table and share some of the ways that we access, and let us feed back to you and let you know how your technologies are affecting people like me. Because I'm not the only person who suffers from psychotic symptoms, especially the hallucinations.
Right.
That's
correct. Yeah, no, you do bring up a very good point, Kat. And, it does make me think about, because I saw that about OpenAI, they're looking to, create their own physical product. One of the things they're looking to do is a smart speaker, and like the one said, doing physical AI or doing anything along, with devices, there's a lot of heavy costs to that. And, that one of the things that they've been arguing, Kat, is, where are they going to price this smart speaker? And then even if you do price it right, because it has a camera on there compared to my smart speaker over here, which I won't say what it is because otherwise it'll go off. But the smart speakers that are already out, they don't even have cameras on them, right? Whereas the OpenAI one is looking to have a camera on it. So now we're talking like invasion of privacy. We're looking at when they had the Super Bowl, for example, and they did the whole Ring super ad as well, where they're like, yeah, you can go and look at all your neighborhoods and stuff like that. People don't want that. People don't want to go, oh, I want to go around finding a dog and then looking everywhere on the Ring doorbells, the door cameras. So at what point is it like where AI within physical products, like the one I'm saying, at what point A, not only just the cost side and the affordability, but B, also what I think about the privacy side, the invasion, etc., on that side of things too. So I think there's a multitude of areas which we've got to think about here, including governance, compliance, policies, responsible AI, etc. We can chuck a load of other stuff on top of that. But the point is, when you start putting AI into physical items, that's where it gets complicated, especially when you start adding cameras and stuff. So, Stefan, I'm going to bring into this conversation. I can see you nodding your head. You have so much more ads. So I'm literally just passing the baton to you now, Stefan, and saying, right, Stefan, go ahead, do your thing. What are your thoughts?
I don't get an actual question, but that's okay. So here's one thing. I actually feel like we've passed the point of where we're training AI a lot. I think actually something has happened of an inflection point where AI is doing some training of us, and the cat is sort of out of the bag that cameras will be everywhere. I wish any of us could stop that, or that we could stop the speakers from happening anywhere. I saw a new product somebody was doing the other day. All it is a speaker, this super speaker that can hear everything around you so it can do your work for you. And he said, you can even put one in your nightstand and it can be listening. Who wants a speaker in their nightstand to hear everything, y'all? Imagine that. So, so it goes a long ways. And I like the question she said, what is this for? Number one, I think it's probably not, it is a what, but she said, who is it for? I think it's for people at the top who are looking for power, money, and control. And that's also the what. So us coming in here and saying, well, what's my place that I can play in that to be some sort of a connector? One of your questions, you mentioned the word empathy, and I see empathy as sort of caring deeply about somebody, that you feel it for them. And compassion is when you add kind of hands and arms and legs and feet, and you actually do something about that. And in Black AI Think Tank, as well as our national events, we always have people who are battling homelessness in there. Every single time I'll get notes from them. Some of them share their story and stuff. And me doing that on this side, this is my 20th year working in tech and faith missions and that type thing. Well, we decided, what if we just made a website or a tool that connected the homeless to technology and the people that we know? We literally called it Raleigh Homeless. My friends who have cell phones, and almost all the homeless do here, they won't forget that. So take the piece of technology, Raleigh Homeless, nobody's going to forget it, and all of the places that are actually doing work to reach them and connect those two. So it wasn't hard at all grabbing, this is hundreds of places and agencies I've been working at, veterans agencies, housing, food, shelter, and all of that, and people who need their help. And so, use whatever you have on the ground, let it blow up, get larger if it can, scale, but otherwise do what you can where you can. So that's one of the little ways that we're using it at this point, sort of as an answer to a problem.
No, that is, first of all, congratulations, Stefan, on that. And second of that, I think it's superb work in what you're doing. Closing that gap, I think, is much needed. When it comes to not only homelessness, but also like just people that just have problems, like in everyday problems, like even like medical problems, like CAT, for example, just, closing that gap in any sort of way, shape or form. I love the fact that you're doing that, Stefan. So, thank you for, sharing that with us, first of all, but also kind of, what you're doing as well. So really.
Real quick, let me just say, there's a lady who's battling homelessness right now in Houston, and she's actually doing the same thing from her perspective as a woman who's battling homelessness. She's doing this where she is, and I hope she's going to be able to generate a number of things from it and some things that will help her. But even in her spot, she sees it, and we work together on some of this stuff, and she's developing one for her own city right now.
Well, like I said, thank you for sharing once again, Stefan. And I do want to continue the conversation of, when we talk about empathy, compassion, trust, when we talk about humanity, when we talk about all these different parts, then we're talking about technology and innovation, deep tech, emergent tech, etc. Srini, all of these technologies coming together and all this innovation happening all at once. And by the way, this is not on script on the questions, just FYI. And by the way, panelists, I will ask another question that is not on the card, just FYI as well. But Srini, when all these emergent technologies are coming together like this, what does it mean for both innovation, but also for humanity as well? Like for what you do when it comes to enterprises, businesses, but also for, homelessness, when it comes to, other problems as well. How, from your perspective, how does that come together with all these technologies?
It's actually a very interesting question, Russell. So one thing is the flow is never the same. Okay, it's always different for different groups, different people, different communities. It's never the same. But what happens, these innovation or modern era technologies, it widens the gaps. Okay, it's so much widens in such a way that people are left behind so far, not able to catch up with the other groups which are actually using these technologies or tools and all. So it gives actually two different things. One is, yes, it widens the gap. At the same time, it actually make the actual builders to innovate something. Those are left behind. If we have a true builders in those group, they will find a way to catch up. It's not they need a tool, right? That's where the innovation brings new ideas. Without even these new modern technologies, how do I catch up? How do I innovate and make sure that we are not left behind? So that is one thing which will happen if we leave those groups behind. The second thing is, even though that is happening, as a community or a humanity, we should not leave those behind. Rather, we have to build our culture in such a way that we appreciate those small things. Okay, in this new technology, if somebody say as simple as small thing which they have achieved, you will say, ChatGPT will do it in a minute. Why?
Yeah, that is so true.
Yeah, he put the effort and he made it and he gave the outcome. Appreciate that little effort. Don't say that some tool will do it in 1 minute. Yes, it will do it, but as a human, he is learning and doing and bringing some outcomes. So that culture, that appreciation was makes humanity comes forward than these tools.
No, I completely agree, and I think humanity needs to stay at the center of all of this. The last panel that I was listening to, we're talking about our own minds, right, and kind of what we think and what we do and what we say, etc. And people are getting so heavily reliant upon AI now that they're stopping their own thoughts from coming out and making their own decisions and stuff. I mean, I've seen Noen, for example, she's like writing stuff down, thinking of her own thoughts, right? But, that's kind of like the old school way of doing it. Now, people these days are just like, oh, let me just type it on ChatGPT. All right, ChatGPT. And now, it's like people are losing their own thoughts and kind of how to do things. So, Serena, you do bring up a good point about the ChatGPT point because, ChatGPT will in a minute, but how about you think about it and then you do it in your own minute, right? And then come back to me with a response, because in that way, then you're keeping your mind healthy, you're keeping your intelligence healthy, and you're keeping your collaboration also with AI, at a high standpoint, right? Versus you just completely become reliant on it. So Don, let's bring you onto this discussion because you have a very unique perspective when it comes to the creative side, the art aspect, the sort of community aspect to all of this. We've spoke about, physical AI. We've spoken about different communities, right? We've spoken about how ChatGPT is doing everything for you in less than a minute. From your point of view, Don, how do you come at this from a creative lens, as in how does the creativity indulge and involve within all this from your point of view?
Well, certainly early on, we dabbled with AI to see whether or not it would fit into our production cycle. And I think we walked away feeling that our response to it was no, thank you. That actually the act of creating as a group, we're a small company, we're about 27 people. We love working together and we love collaborating. We're kind of a creative jazz band that we're an ensemble working on things. And despite the humbleness of our product, a lot of the compliments we get from our players is, why do I feel so good in this space? And my answer is that a human being placed every single thing that you are witnessing. And most importantly, during the act of creating that product, we're creating it for you, not for us. We're creating it. We're all constantly thinking about how other people will interact with and enjoy the thing that we're creating. And then the last piece, I think, is that we're also thinking about how do we share and give permission to the world of creators to make their own. And we hope a combination of sort of leading by example, do what we do. We give you permission to do it, but we also really, really share our process, not to show off our prowess as creators, but to show off how incredibly fun and easy it is to do it for yourself. And I think the world is full of lots of examples where people are telling you the bar is too high. There are free tools. There are opportunities for you to self-express using these tools. And I think in the end, the product that people are going to be the most hungry for are the ones that were touched by humans. And as convenient as it appears to bosses to think that they could run a more profitable company without the annoyance of human beings, it's human beings touching things that makes a product that people want to consume.
No, I completely agree. I think, transparency is so underrated and people don't even think, because here's one of the things, transparency builds trust, right? In a nutshell. And if you don't have that transparency aspect in terms of what you do with all the processes and stuff that you trial and error, people aren't going to be able to be educated and learn from your mistakes, so to speak. And then they're just going to go and do it and make it themselves. And it's like, oops, when you could have just, went to use yourself, Don, and went, oh, Don already tried this ChatGPT new tool. Okay, well, we don't need to try that then because Don's already done that. So I think that's so important that education is very fundamental and important, but also the transparency in which you're doing from a creative point of view is extremely important. So and it also makes me think as well, Don, like the other aspects in the emerging technology as well, like when we talk about AR smart glasses, right? Like when we talk about, these new physical AIs, robots, etc. What is the creativity side gonna look like when all of this comes into play as well over the next few years? That's another whole question in itself. But I appreciate you sharing, Don. Thank you so much. But I do need to get around to Anar because Anar has been sitting patiently waiting. So thank you so much for being so patient, Anar. And my question to you, Anar, is how can empathy, because we were talking about it earlier with Stefan, how can empathy be employed in the design of tools, platforms, and systems? I think, transparency is very important, but also empathy is too, right? So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, thank you, Russell. I'm coming from a security background, specifically like AI security. And for us, when we work with our clients, we see a lot of complaints from people and from companies who are actually using the latest AI tools. Is that the number first complaint is The number one complaint is, we're feeding a lot of data into those AI tools. We're feeding some private data, some customer data, sensitive data, IP-related stuff. So what's happening to those things, right? Once I upload it to ChatGPT or any other public AI model, I don't see what's happening with that data after I upload it, right? Because it's a black box model. You just upload it and then it spits out the output. So we don't have access to that, right? So that's the issue of transparency right now. That's number one. The empathy is from the education perspective. I recently had a friend who had a 7-year-old. They spent like one day building their own project, AI project, and it was like AI story builder. And it was such a great example of how empathy can be employed in the design of those tools, right? Because those tools are friendly enough to be understood by a 7-year-old. So
right.
they just spent a couple of hours and they ended up creating a storybook creator. So you have to upload your images, not images like general images, and then you can create a plot, and then that will create a interactive story, like a visual and audio aspects of it as well. So I think it's great to see that a lot of tools are actually built to be accessible to everyone. So yeah.
No, I agree. I think that empathy is such a. I mean, first of all, I think that was a great example. By the way, that was a really good example. But second of all, empathy is very underrated. As in, you need to be empathetic and putting yourself in someone else's shoes, right? Where are they coming from? What's happening? And then from that standpoint, you can then backtrack, right? Being empathetic as like, okay, this is what they want, or this is how we can help solve the problem, or whatever it is. So I completely agree with you on that. Empathy is extremely important. So is transparency, so is accountability, so is humanity, so there's many other things as well. But I agree with you on that. Empathy and is just so important, and especially from a security standpoint, because you need to understand what your client is going through, especially in the age of AI. And you're thinking about your data. I mean, I have an interesting stat for you. Over 70% of executives within the company can't even explain how the AI made the decision it did, right? So if you think about from that point of view, right, and they don't even know where the data's going, right? Now we've got two problems all in one there. And it's like, okay, well, how can I empathetically make a decision then if I don't even know how the AI even made the decision in the first place, right? So, but yeah, anyway, thank you so much, Anar, for sharing that. Noan, I'll come back over to you now. There's a lot that's been discussed since obviously we spoke about the physical AI side, or that's what I call it anyway, hardware, if you want to call it, whatever term you want to use. From your point of view, Noan, we're talking about trust, we're talking about transparency, we're talking about empathy, we're talking about all these key things. How does transparency affect trust between innovators and society? Now, this is a good question for you.
Yeah, it's a very big question. I will make a big difference between AI and other products and dependent sectors, to be fair, clearly. Kat, you mentioned you will be in army. So, for example, when we discuss innovation in army, it is generally secret. So very few transparency. Sorry to say that. But
Very
that is
true.
the reality. You agree, Kat, I think. Yeah.
Absolutely. Very much.
Yeah. So it depends which sector we consider, to be fair, when we discuss about transparency, because also it is linked to intellectual property. And we have more and more cyber war between, not only between a country, but also between companies in the same country, to be fair.
Yes.
So that is the reality of the economy today and the business world. So we have to discuss about that. So that it is one way, okay? So it depends on the sectors. The other way, if we discuss about software area, not only AI, so I will it will be larger. We should, as it is mentioned by Kat, by Serini, by Steven, by Don, and by Ama, to take more and more diverse team and the diverse use case. to be fair, because
Okay.
behind AI, behind software, it is algorithm. Okay,
Mhm.
behind algorithm, it is you and me. So, and we have some bias. So, one thing we should, I think, if you try to be more transparent with people who use the tools, it is to explain them that we are human, we are not perfect. So there's some bias also in the tools they use. However, for me, at the same time, it is an occasion, so it is a possibility to help them to increase their competencies on criticism about the tool. Okay.
Okay.
So when you use ChatGPT, DeepMind, Cloud, or any other AI tool, you should take care what the answer is not the truth. It is based on algorithm. It is an average of the solution. So people should understand that they have to increase their competencies to understand better how we can do that. And I guess it is the role of experts who work in AI sector, who work in technology sector, that yes, it is a beautiful tool. It's true. I use it. It's true, clearly. There is many advantage to use it. But in the same time, we should educate them how to use it correctly in the right way. I think it is my suggestion.
I agree, and I also think, when it comes to the wider perspective of society, we're thinking about, people losing their jobs. We think about, how it's just, changing people's lives in general, whether that's at home. We spoke about the smart speakers before. When we talk about society as a whole, this is changing government. This is changing everything in the way that we live and the way that we do things. So I think it's fundamentally important that we do educate as many people as possible. As Christopher likes to say, the technologist should be educating other people, and I do agree with that. And even if you're not a technologist, I still think you should learn. And I like to say, be curious, right? Ask questions, get insight, get involved, learn, adapt, etc. So when we're talking about society as a whole, and we're talking about innovators and how do we do that that trust between us and that transparency between us, it's from both sides. Society as a whole has to be curious, has to be learning, has to be educating, etc. And then also B, innovators need to be transparent on what they do and how they do things and accountable, etc. and on that side of things as well. Which is why I think fundamentally, and I'm just, again, if you call me biased if you want to, like Noel would say, but from my point of view, this is why verification is so important, because the fact that you can verify in terms of how the model behaves, or verify something real or not, or verify the performance of something, like the robustness, the one that you say, all these are so important. And I think verification and being able to trust the outcomes of those metrics and all that evidence is going to be fundamentally important, which is a part of transparency and accountability. Stefan, I can see you jumping in, so please add to the conversation.
Yeah, I think that trust thing is at the core of all of this, because
100%.
Yeah, people who fear it a little bit, it comes around to trust. It's one of the reasons, y'all, I like to put some of these in the thinking model, because you can just watch it. It's a lot of thoughts that it has, but just watch it go back and forth, sort of see where it's going and how it got that answer. You may not like DeepSeek, but I like the way it does that, and a number of other models. And I think ultimately tools like Perplexity, even when we use other large language models, we love to go back to Perplexity. I don't work for them or anything, but we just like to see the sources, cited there. It's one of the values of it. So is AI trustworthy? I'm just going to say a flat no on that. Are there some tools that we can trust more than others? Yes, but I don't know if I'll ever change my mind. Is AI trustworthy? So I'll stop at that.
No, that's a very fair perspective, Stefan, and that's why I say this is why verification is so important, and being able to verify that. But even if you go one step further than that, it's like one step further is, what is trust? Now, people say trust and throw around the trust term a lot of the time, kind of like how Nguyen was saying, right? What's innovation, right? But what is trust? Well, trust is basically the belief of the reliability, the reliability, the abilities of the model, right? And also the truthfulness of it as well. So like how Stefan's saying, Perplexity is good because of the truth and the sources that it gets from, right? Is it reliable? Yes. Okay. Is it truthful? Yes. Does it have capabilities, as in all the different abilities that you need to do at a high standard? Yes. Then you can believe in that model, so to speak, right? That it is trustworthy in a nutshell. So to break it down in 3 categories, it is reliability, truthfulness, and the abilities or the capabilities. So, Kat, let's bring you into this conversation. We're talking about trust, we're talking about transparency, we're talking about society. You have such a very unique perspective when it comes to the veteran side. And I know no one's brought it up, I brought it up. From your point of view, Kat, how do we close that gap between, and this is not written down on the board, so you can't chat GPT this one, but how do we close that gap between the veterans and people like yourself and also AI, like from your point of view? Is it the affordability of products? Is it the affordability of AI, or is it that we need to educate? Like, what is the fundamental part to close that gap from your point of view?
Well, it's never just going to be one or the other. It's not as binary as an or situation, so simple. It's going to be both. We need education, but also we need informed consent. And we need people to be aware of how these systems kind of work under the hood as much as we could and can at this stage in our society. But I think for me, it's going to be my role in all this is kind of to help people like me, veterans, and other people who suffer from psychosis, especially treatment-resistant psychosis, is to create tools. Use XR for good, as they say. Use it, do what I can where I can, and so I'm working on this app. It'll be web-based primarily, but I think the Perceptor app is kind of going to sort of serve a very similar role in my community that Stefan has with Raleigh Homeless, where it's going to be not just a resource tool or locator in real time for people, but it'll also be a real-time, grounding tool. It'll be an opportunity, a feature that allows people like me who are walking through the world, who get up in the morning and they're bombarded by not just auditory noise, but also visual noise, and to help ground and find a clear way through, a clear way path forward through our day, out the front door. In order for me to get up and out of bed, I have to fight my way through lots of voices, and I have to fight my way past through derogatory visual hallucinations. And for many people in our society, that's entertainment. People are trying to pay money to get this experience of the blurred lines between reality, but we don't understand that. I think we are coming to understand that even from ChatGPT as a use case, the AI psychosis thing is not a conspiracy theory. It's a real trend, and it's a concerning one, that people are starting to not know what is real. And so for me, the key is, even though I want people to know what I'm seeing and hearing so they'll get me, so they'll understand, why am I talking to that tree over there, or why am I talking to thin air, or why am I lashing out? It's because I'm having a completely different, I live in a different world. My world is just really affected by my reality just isn't the same. And so when I say perception is not always reality, that's just how it is. So my goal is to shift perceptions of reality, challenge perceptions of what's normal perception to people. But also on the veteran side, there's 45,000 veterans in our country we know about who have schizophrenia. So that's a community that I can reach with this app, this tool that says, here's something that'll help you decide whether this is real or not. It'll help track your emotional state, but you're going to have complete control over what information it stores, how all of that has to be turned off and on. And as we're going to move into a more augmented reality based society. That's
100%.
where we are.
Yeah,
so
no.
We just need to be able to, kind of like a Minority Report, where you're just bombarded. The guys just run around all over the place, and their screens, and they know you, and they're talking directly to you. that can be very destabilizing for people who are, neurodivergent, and not just people with schizophrenia. So we just have to remember those people, hold those people in mind when we create this technology, and give them the same dignity to turn that noise off if they need to. And for me, that's my goal too. And even making my technology is keeping my own community in mind. I'm not here to try to make people psychotic or destabilize people who already suffer from psychotic illnesses. My goal is to create a story world, a composite of that's based on the real lived experience of a human being who has it, and then let people, that will foster the empathy. My story is a human story. It's not just a schizophrenia story. It's about perception. And so if I can reach my community through my technology with Perceptor, and maybe that Glassstar story-based element, there's awareness there. And then on the other hand, if it's an actual real world tool.
Kat, I'm going to have to jump in because we're
Sure,
running out of time. So we literally got 3 minutes left. So what I'm going to do, Serini, Don, and I want to get one word from each of yourselves. What is the one word that you would like to see in the future? So what I mean by that is, what is one word that you would say AI could be? So for example, do you want to see AI to be more transparent? Do you want to see AI to be more accountable? Do you want AI to be more aligned? I just want to get one word from each of yourselves, and maybe like a kind of like a small sentence why that is, of what's something that you would like to see for AI from your point of view, Serini.
I would say to be friend for humanity. That's a very simple word, I would say.
I love that.
It's not competition between us and AI. We have to use AI to benefit us, and it's the other way around also. There are other tools which will take our expertise and make the world a little better too. So it's more of a friendship than competition.
Don, over to you.
I would agree with that. I would say partner would probably be a better word, as opposed to, I think someone said that that AI is a terrible creator, but a wonderful intern. And I would like that relationship more than necessarily the other.
A creative partner, Don, right?
Yes.
I don't know, one word, like just one word from yourself, or one sentence of what you would like to see in the future for AI.
Yeah, I think for me that word is perspective. I think the next breakthrough in AI, it won't come from adding more compute. I think it'll come from adding more perspectives. And we have these amazing tools, and I think we have a great opportunity to bring to life everything that we have in mind, and AI is the perfect tool for that.
Well, that is all we have time for. Thank you so much to each and every one of the panelists. Thank you, Noen, Kat, Serini, Don, Anar, and Stephen, wherever you went. And thank you to each and every one of you. Our Gather was well. And up next, we're going to be having a fireside chat around safety, trust, and responsibility with Eli and myself. So that'll be coming up next for you. And then up after that as well, we also have a roundtable discussion on human possibility, building the generations ahead, moderated by Salvation. Thank you very much, everyone. I'll Gather as well. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Welcome back to GatherVerse Summit 2026. Hello, Eli. And it's great to have you with us. And what a fantastic roundtable discussion we had. But today and right now, we have Eli Bohan with us. And she's going to introduce herself. And we're going to be talking about safety, trust, and responsibility, which I think are three very fundamental, important topics to discuss. So over to you, Eli. Please introduce yourself. Your microphones seem to have been disconnected or muted. I don't know what has happened there. So we seem to be having a mute issue. No, I think you might need to unplug it on the back, maybe. I don't know, or turn it off and on. I'm not. Or actually, you could have a look at the settings. There's like a little settings cog down the bottom. You might be able. There we go. I just heard you then for a second. No. No, we can't hear you. Okay, well, There we go.
Okay.
Whatever you did there, just leave it there. Right, there we go. No more technical difficulties, thank goodness.
I think that this is a perfect intro to a conversation about techno literacy and education in modern day. So I'm excited to be here. I'm Ellie, aka Eli Bohan, and I am a technology ethicist and cyborg anthropologist. Excited to be here for 5 years of GatherVerse? That's amazing.
Yeah, I know, right? Such a long time. I mean, Christopher obviously has been a fantastic leader and leading the way of GatherVerse, but GatherVerse is just so fundamental for humanity, and I just love everything about GatherVerse as well. So, but Eli, we're here to talk to you about safety, trust, and responsibility. And so, from your point of view, Eli, let's start with safety. What is safety from your point of view?
Yeah, safety for me is entwined with consent. If somebody says, hey, I'm going to lock you in this room and all the monsters outside can't get you, it's like, cool, monsters outside can't get me. Can I get out? Where is this room? How do I go to ask for permission to eat? Where is food coming from? It's like safety and consent are intertwined together, and we really have to solve that.
And then we move on to trust. Now, safety to me is kind of like a part of trust. I mean, me, not to spoil the beans, but me and Christopher behind the scenes have little discussions about trust and verification and stuff like that and safety. So, but for you, Eli, does safety add up to trust for you, or is trust first and safety first? After for you, or is it like both at the same time? Like what order do you put them in, basically?
If I brought to you a brand new car and sat you in it and said, this car will drive you to anywhere you go, anywhere you want to go. I don't tell you how to drive it. I just tell you that it's going to go, and I don't tell you anything about the brand, any of its safety features. You can't even find the seatbelt, but I am telling you it is safely going to get you there. How would you feel? I think that trust comes from a pattern of confirmed safety, and trust is broken when consent is overruled. True.
And then we talk about responsibility. I think it's also the responsibility, if we're talking about the car manufacturer in that case, it's also the responsibility of the car manufacturer to make sure that the safety is in place.
Yeah.
So then that person can then trust what you do, right? Or what the company's doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's similar to a lot of the tech we've talked about. A lot of the panels have talked about AI and things like that. Multiple people have brought up consent and education. There are overlaps. But if you don't have repeated evidence that this tool, this technology, this experience is going to be a safe one for you, how are you going to trust it? And that's a place that we're at right now. Folks don't know what to trust, and folks are coming to the head of, or coming to the conclusion of, which I'm very excited about, what consent do we have within all of these technologies that we're being told to trust?
I want to bring in the cyborg side. When it comes to the cyborg angle, what safety, trust, responsibility when it comes to the cyborg side, how does that work with the cyborg aspect in particular?
Yeah, so within the research project that I did during my master's degree in data analytics and computational social science, I ran a study just to get people's general impact. When people talk about cyborgs and AI, a lot of the surveys that I found were mostly fear-focused. So on a scale from 1 to 10, how nervous am I about a cyborg replacing my job? But not just getting the general input of, would I be friends with a cyborg? How am I defining a cyborg? Through that research, I found that the definitions that we have in academia, in industry, and just within the everyday people I got, 111 people that I got to do this survey within a month's time, were completely different definitions. So within academia, a cyborg is a person augmenting themselves using a tool to achieve a task. So by that definition, I am a cyborg because I wear glasses to augment my vision, which allows me to complete the task of seeing your wonderful faces and seeing chat. That's not a definition that every person's going to align to. So if we can't get this definition of cyborg aligned in the everyday people, and we're building technology and research off of this definition of cyborg that isn't aligned to the everyday person, where does it leave a person?
And then I would also question is like, you know, if you're like in your example, right, you're wearing glasses to help with your vision, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whose responsibility is that to, you know, make your vision better? Like if you're becoming a cyborg and you're wearing the glasses to become a cyborg, you know, whose responsibility is that? You know, where does it come from, the trust side of things? You know, that kind of sort of thing as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge disability conversation that is ongoing. And that's one of the things that's been excited about the cyborg anthropology research is the more I lead people into this discussion, it circles back into bias. It circles back into disability justice. I mean, there's so many conversations that are happening online of ordering glasses online and the prescription is entirely different. But you won't know that because you just got a better version of your regular eyes. You won't know that it's not your right prescription until you go to someone to check it out. Cough, cough, auditing the technology that you were given.
No, I see what you're saying. And, you know, I just think that, you know, trust is just so fundamentally important, you know, when it comes to what I like to say, the trust gap that's going on right now. You know, when we talk about trust, when we talk about safety, you know, safety is really a part of that trust, right? And allowing to trust happen. And safety is an important aspect when it comes, you know, to like harm to humans, for example, for sure. But then we also talk about other aspects as well within that. And, you know, when we talk about responsible AI, right? And we talk about all the parts that go into the responsible AI, you know, we talk about responsibility, so to speak. From your point of view, even outside of the cyborg aspect, you know, when we're just talking about AI technology as a whole, how would you define or look at responsible AI? And we do have only a couple minutes, so I kind of want to just get your thoughts on that, and then we can finish on that.
Yeah, responsible AI starts with the data set. It's something that I've said of, you know, the common concept of garbage in, garbage out. If you aren't taking the time to understand how your data sets can be biased and what can come from that, then you are building an AI model that is going to put out more garbage and bias more data and just amplify everything else outside of it. I think the root of it is we have a gap in trust because we have a gap in education. I run 20-Minute Tech Tutor, which educates older adults, a completely ignored population when it comes to technology in general. And we have developers working, but are they going through ethics training? We have data analysts, but are they looking at data bias, right? We have executives wanting to put in AI models, but they're not looking at their legacy systems and what's that one gear holding up the entire tower together. So let's all come together, gather together, as we've been doing for years at GatherVerse, and have these discussions. Because GatherVerse and events like these make technology accessible to so many. It's given me the platform to talk about so many great things like creating change in trust and safety through programs like education.
And, you know, humanity is so important, and, you know, we're all humans. You know, we all have to interact with this AI. We all have to interact with this other species, so to speak. And that's just kind of like where we're at. So anyway, Eli, thank you so much for joining us for our fireside chat. If you do want to check Eli out, go to her LinkedIn. She is available on LinkedIn, so do connect with her there. And that's it for the fireside chat, safety, trust, responsibility. And up next, we have Human Possibility, building for generations ahead, with Salvation, who's going to be up next moderating. So that is it from us. Our Gather was well. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Enjoy.
Greetings. Welcome once again to GatherVerse Summit 2026, Day 2. Shout out to Russell and Ellie for that wonderful fireside chat. Panelists, we're happy to have you join us from different regions around the world. And it's been an amazing summit since day one. Very wonderful and insightful panel conversation has been going on, and we've learned a lot. We've discussed human needs, human values, human impact. And today we're gathered to discuss human possibility, building for generations ahead. I'll start with introductions. Please ask for you to keep your microphones muted so we avoid distractions, and then we'll head straight to the conversation. I hope you're very much excited to share what you have for us today. I am Salvation Chigaraka, Global Programs Director at GatherVerse, and I'm joining from the beautiful island of Lagos, Nigeria. I welcome you all, Beth, Cam, Nagawa, Dr. Hemot, Devin, and Ian. Good to see you again, Ian. And yes, please, Beth, kindly introduce yourself. Tell us where you're joining us from and your inspiration for joining the summit.
Hi, yes, I'm Beth Zukowski. I'm co-founder of AI Between Worlds, where we really work with businesses and individuals on ethical, responsible, and culturally intelligent AI adoption. I'm also a mother of 3, so this panel in particular is of interest to me personally, and I'm excited to be part of it with everyone. Thank you.
We welcome you, Beth. Happy to have you. Cam, please tell us where you're joining us from. Sorry, you're muted, Cam. Please unmute.
I am in Florida. I am the author of Savage Jill, Die to Live. It's and I have a system around it. It's for men, designed specifically for men who refuse to die slowly.
Interesting. Your inspiration for joining us, Cam, what inspired you to join the summit?
Well, the world is not heading in a good direction.
We welcome you, Cam, and congratulations on your book. I think it's the first book I've seen about men. So thank you for sharing that with us. Ian, please tell us where you are joining us from, your inspiration for joining us as well.
All right. I'm from South Korea, and I've been instructing many children, like for many different types of academic disciplines, especially like usually English language. But I try to utilize many different like academia when they learn English, so that they can take enough rest. And also I try to utilize AI in many ways, but I don't just give them a simple answers using this technology. Instead, I try to utilize it in more in a way that they can improve their cognitive abilities, like by giving them open-ended questions, and then AI can actually evaluate the answers very almost like very correctly. Like it can even evaluate it in terms of like in probabilistic terms. So that's what I do. So I try to utilize AI and cognitive scientific ideas and even logic in many like learning processes. And I'm happy to be here again.
We welcome you, Ian. That's like impactful work you're doing over there. We welcome you. Devin, please.
Hello, everybody. I'm in Los Angeles. I'm from Los Angeles. I was in the Bay for over 8.5 years, doing mainly working in tech throughout various companies. Then I got into teaching, and I've been in the XR industry for over 10 years, and I've been teaching for 6. So I'm glad to be here.
Thank you, Devin. We welcome you. We love teachers in GatherVerse. Good to have you join us. Dr. Hemot, please.
Hi, my name is Dr. Helmut Love, and I created over 750 million in revenue, impacted 2 billion lives at big companies like IBM Watson. I led a $250 million company there in AI and tech. And I'm here because I founded a nonprofit called the Gaily Impact, and I coach entrepreneurs on how to use strategy and AI to create good. I feel very strongly that AI is a great opportunity for those of us who use spiritual wisdom to drive good from it. And I am really excited about this particular conversation for two reasons. One, I am the mother of three daughters. I am in the LGBT community, and I ran for mayor of Atlanta with the belief that responsible capitalism can come from the ethical use of AI and tech, and it's up to really smart people to do that for the next generation. So I'm very excited about this group and this conversation.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hamad. And that's really nice with the work you do. AI for good. That's it. We welcome you, Dr. Hamad. Nagawa, please.
Hi, I'm Nagawa, and I'm joining in from London. I'm a consultant for Azure Zenith, and also I'm also the co-founder of AI Between Worlds. And my mother is also the executive director of the Early Childhood Development Action Network. So I'm deeply invested, and my niece is 5 at the moment, so I'm deeply invested in her future. And I also help like organizations like adopt AI in an ethical and cultural intelligent way. So I really want to make sure that like how AI is adopted now helps.
Sorry, you're muted, Nagawa.
Sorry, I really want to make sure that like the way AI is adopted now is good for our people and planet, and that so that we can make sure the next generations get to have a better way of life now, but then with the help of like AI. So AI for good.
Thank you, Nagawa. We welcome you. I hope you're doing well. Are you cold?
Yes, I've got a cold. Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you for joining us, panelists. Shall we begin? Awesome. Beth, I'd like for you to open the conversation with us. I think recently I stumbled upon a post on social media that said we are the last generation of people that has like left that know about social media. We're the last generation to know about what it felt like without social media, rather. And that got me concerned. It means that the next generation joining us, let's say 10 years from now, 20 years from now, would not be knowing what it felt like without social media. They will be born in the ideology of using AI tools. They will be born with education models created for AI tools, by AI tools to teach them. And that will be a different experience. I was born in the 90s. I'm a 90s kid and in the late 90s. So it's different. I grew up not knowing what it felt like to have a mobile phone, to have internet. I enjoyed playing outside the internet environment. But now we have a very different scenario in 2026. It means a lot of things has changed. We have children with tablets. Did you know that children within the age of 2 to 4 now have tablets in their homes, and they use this every day? So Beth, please, I want you to share with us, how does building for future generations change how progress is identified today? What does it look like 20 years from now, 40 years from now? What does progress look like?
I want to be optimistic, of course, with some skepticism, but the optimist in me sees that a lot of the technology that we've developed over the years can really help to make our world a much better place and a much stronger place for the future generations. So where social media, yes, is definitely something that, my kids have grown up with and future generations will grow up with. I don't know that necessarily means that they're going to be at a disadvantage in some ways. I think that because they've grown up with it, they may have even a healthier dose of skepticism and a lot more questioning of what's good and what's true and what's real than perhaps when it first came out and we were exposed to it, right? So I think, for me, the progress is will our kids be healthy? Will they be happy? Will they be able to challenge assumptions? Will they be able to be inclusive and thinking about other people and understanding, how of the differences and be curious about the differences rather than purely judgmental, right? And I think that with the technology, it allows them to ask deeper questions and be exposed to more than perhaps like my generation would have been. So I see a future where we can tackle environmental challenges. I see a future where we can encourage healthier habits than we have today. I see a future where educational gaps start to shrink. And so I do think that that there's a lot of positive change that will happen over the upcoming years.
I agree with you, Beth. I think in the positive usage, we're going to see positive results. I totally agree with you on that. Cam, would you like to add to this?
Yes, I have a different perspective. I think that we're confusing comfort with progress. A lot of the tools out there, do they really long-term, what impact do they have? People are living in cities for years and they need to use GPS because they can't, the tool is available for them and then it limits their ability to navigate naturally. People forget, like when they're driving in directions, which way the sun is, if they know they're going east or west, where it sets. So I think a lot of the new technologies, they're not really helping your critical thinking, how to problem solve. It's just instant answers, and I don't think it's a good thing.
Full of speed. Yes, I agree. I agree. That's a very interesting perspective there. Who wants to add to this? Devin, go.
And I mean, to Cam's point, especially with the younger folks, because I teach a wide range. Lately, it's been elementary school, and I've been having a whole new awakening to just how this technology is affecting our younger youth. It's very interesting when you're dealing with kids who grew up in this era and that's all they know. All they know is digital, iPads, different things like that. But when it comes to terms of AI, a lot of times you see the switch between when I grew up having to write everything out and really use my cognitive thinking versus them just so resulting so quick to look up something and like not naturally give it a go. And it's like, okay, as an educator myself who encourages the use of AI, I have to, sometimes dial that back to where I'm like, okay, let's do this naturally. Okay, let's think this through. Let's build those cognitive thinking, that critical thinking skill set. So AI can be used as a tool and not a hindrance. Because a lot of times that's what it ends up being, and not so much with the younger kids, like more so middle school, high school range. Like that's where you see the drop off, where it's like, oh wow, like you had to use AI for that. Like that should be something inherent, but I'm never blaming them. It's always the system and our education, what we fail to do as educators for our kids. So
Right. Yeah, thank you, Devin. That was an interesting take on the subject. Very important. Thank you. Dr. Hammett, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, it's interesting to me because technology does not remove the moral, spiritual, ethical responsibility of a parent to parent. And I think the scary part is that what we see happening is the use of technology is driving a wealth gap, which is really not sustainable. When we figure out how to share more, then more parents can parent and be present with their children, so that the child's not just given the tech to simply replace, like I think Cam's a good example, right? Like I had to learn how to use a map simply because you needed that skill. And I can still do it, and I still keep it while I'm doing the other thing. And sometimes I go into autopilot, but sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'm back to like map world, right? But I learned that skill because I came from a time when none of this stuff was digital, right? The TV was a brand new thing. So when we're talking about sort of how can we use AI to get everyone, no matter how much wealth they have, to have a truly human experience and learn both the tech side and the human side, that requires some wealth, right? Like mom and dad have to be present, or the school system you're going in needs to be one that has both modules of, right? It's both together. And until we get to a place where we're enabling using AI to give the most human of upbringings to every person, that to me is like, yes, right? We can all get a human childhood, and we can all use tech and learn how to use it alongside. And that's the fear where I think we're all dealing with is, to Cam's point, like, hey, just replace this complete skill set and you completely never learn how to navigate hiking a trail on your own. Like, that's a travesty, right? We've not created healthy humans if they can't simply walk the earth.
So we need to prepare parents, or parents need to prepare themselves for the future. Okay, I
would say we have to prepare parenting. We have to enable parenting, right?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I have a follow-up question with that, Dr. Hammett, but I would want to say, in a scenario where kids need to learn the human side and parents are working, what do we do there? Because parents need to work, they have jobs, they have businesses. How can they be present? Considering you have work, you have parenting, what do you do?
Right. Well, I can only tell my own examples, right? So I would say the time I did have with my children was the most important time to be present and in dialogue and in play, or in like, let's ride the bike together. Let's go outside and do things, right? You also have the responsibility of knowing how much your child is using tech. And bucking against a system that says, oh, they all get tech. No, they don't. Not in my house. In my house, you get this for this amount of time. And those seem like harsh rules, but they're actually fatherly protection, right? I don't want you to be immersed in this whole other thing without the knowledge of what is the most human of things. That's a very conscientious thing. So before I say first, what do we do for the parent? I'd say each parent has to make a conscious decision. It's hard. Just as like it's hard to be a person out there, it's hard to be a parent, because now you're having to put boundaries, clear boundaries in place for your child. And then I would say that to the more broad conversation, you were saying like we're all busy. I think that's a social challenge we have. We've created so much work for some humans that they don't even have time to do the most human of things, right? And that's a greater wealth distribution question that we get to answer, because we're on the edge of that, right? If we don't fix these problems, we're going to have little humans that are extremely unhuman, unproductive, unhappy. And I don't want that to be my neighbor or your neighbor or any of us, right? I don't want that for us. And when we start seeing it as an us, maybe AI is what brings us together. Hopefully it brings us together and realize I freaking really care whether Salvation's daughter is raised well or not, because your daughter is my future son's wife, right? Let's get real.
Thank you, Dr. Hammer. That's a very, very interesting contribution to that question. You did justice to it. Ian, I'm coming over to you with the next question. Just a sec. Okay, it's here. What responsibilities exist towards children and young people who will inherit this technology? You handle students every day. You're an educationist. Tell us, what do you think? Ian, can you hear us?
All right. I think we have a lot of responsibilities, especially like so for now, we've been sort of like we are quite obsessed with efficiency, right? Using AI, we would like to create lots of ways, and we would like to improve our life, and we would like to go ahead of others. But we need to teach our children that going ahead is actually like learning how to act ethically and and learning how to go to the right direction, like in a fast, I mean, in a slower pace. Like going fast is not always going like fast, in many cases. Like, so, I mean, the transformation, like learning things using AI, it's extremely helpful, like in many ways. We can actually, like, we don't even have to spend a lot of time in terms of learning many different, like, interdisciplinary knowledge. Like, if we really know how to use it, if we really know how to deliver the knowledge and skills to the children, so they need to learn. What really matters is how to socialize with others, how to share things, and how to help others. And that will make them successful in their own life. I'm pretty sure about it. And I hope the future generation would get this point. But even in South Korea, students are suffering from lots of like a fierce education competition, and they have no time. 80% of Korean students go to like a private academies after school. So they don't have time to play, like hang around with their friends. It's just like maybe more than 10 hours a day. They just have to learn and study. Like in many cases, it's just like passively. So this is very toxic in many ways. And hopefully, so for me, so as an educator, I try to, so I use lots of efficient way of teaching and learning methods, but I do this so that they can take enough rest, so that they can learn fast, and so that they can have enough rest and time for socializing. So I'm not just using this in a bad way. So I think, so like I said, the most important thing is we must teach them the best way of living their life is like knowing how to live ethically. Yeah, I think that's what I'm thinking.
I think that's right. Yeah, ethical. We must teach them how to use this ethically. Devin, you're also an educationist. You also work with young people. From what Ian shared here, we must teach them how to use these tools ethically. Teach them how to socialize outside of using AI. What's your contribution on this?
I exactly agree with Ian's point. It has to be an emphasis on ethics and a focus on humanity. Literally, just what he said. It's like making sure that we're rooted in that going forward. Even with the use of AI, using it in a way that could enhance our humanity, as the good doctor said.
Yeah, right.
When implementing these practices, it goes into curriculum design and designing curriculum around ethics, around making sure that we're maintaining our humanity as we teach the future. Because the future is happening now. It's nothing that we can avoid. We have to embrace it. And our youth fully embraces it, whether they know it or not. They're living it. So it's like, how do we tailor education? How do we tailor curriculum to better serve them? And in my case, I wanted to kind of speak on something a little earlier, but it also kind of correlates now. Is the earlier question was how do you change how progress is defined?
Yeah.
Well, the measure of progress is what we define it as. In a way, it's subjective. So what we initially need to focus on is just finding our own definition to what we think is important, to what they think is important, and ask them. I ask my students, like, what do you see in your future? Like, what do you think is important? Because ultimately, by the time they get to do what they need to do, by the time it's their turn to change the world, I might not be here.
Yeah, right.
So I ask them what their thoughts are on this, and then help guide them towards building something for themselves.
Yes,
Because
Devin.
I can only do so much, but what I can do, I will offer my services. I will make sure that they have the tools necessary to succeed and build whatever future they can fathom. So.
Thank you, Devin. I think you did justice to that. Nagawa, I haven't forgotten about you. I'm coming to you with the next question. How are today's innovations affecting the emotional and cognitive development of young people?
I think when it comes to like AI, it's changing the way they think and interact. So it's quite different to like when you were born, like in the 80s or 90s, to like how you're born now. And so everything is like quickly and fast, but we need to make sure that we counteract that to make sure that they're like emotionally balanced in their use. So it takes a village to raise a child. So I think that there should be like some more circular knowledge and like also like between like the generations. They can like learn from their grandparents as well. They can learn from we should involve the parents as well to make sure that like within the way that they're learning, it's like more balanced. So it's not that the bad side effects that we could have from like social media, like AI, are like counteracted by the way like parents are involved and like making sure that their kids are having a more balanced lifestyle. Like we're talking to them more about their emotions and like what they're going through, so that it's better for them. And we're involving the grandparents and other people in society as well, making sure that they have a better lifestyle. And I know, for example, in the UK at the moment, they're thinking of whether or not they should like ban social media, just like they're doing for kids under 16, like they did in Australia, to make sure that the bad side effects of like having when it comes to like cyberbullying, or when it comes, for example, to like the isolation you can feel, and that the compounds as well, that you're not getting that, and that you're able to like interact more people with people like in real life, say, to so that it's like better for the kids.
Nagawa. Okay, I have a follow-up question with what you just shared with us. And you mentioned parents should teach them, the elders should teach them on how to, manage their emotional intelligence and all that. I know we keep talking about AI, right? We keep saying AI, AI, AI. But most of the kids we're talking about right now are children in high school. Over here in Nigeria, we use the word primary school, and that's maybe the grade school for you in America. And some of those children are not like interacting with AI right now, but they are interacting with games. They're playing mobile games. They're watching cartoons. How are we moderating that with kids watching cartoons, with kids playing mobile games? How are we moderating their emotional development? Nagawa.
I think when it comes to cartoons, the cartoons are still basically the same as we used to watch before. But when it comes to like mobile games, they're not designed in the way that games in the 90s were. These ones are like meant to keep you playing. They give you immediately they make you like have like immediate like say like a lot of like feedback, right? They're meant to like keep you playing, so they keep you giving like your dopamine hits all the time. So they're not, it's like in the 90s where you play a game, you play a session, you finish your strategy, and then that's it, you're done, and you go and do something else. So I think we kind of like need to moderate how much time their usage is on playing games. Make sure they're playing physical games as well instead. Like you limit their time. Okay, right. You've had like your half an hour day of like screen time or whatever, and then now okay, we're gonna play a game like that involves the whole family or involves everybody else, so that they're like playing, they're socially interacting, and it's not just interacting with people like on the internet or like when they're playing games. So it's like a different way of doing things. So I think definitely we need to make sure that we have a balance between what is like mobile gaming and like just playing cards, playing not or there's certain things that like involve different skills. So I definitely think those should be moderated. And we should also like co-design games with children to make sure that the type of games they're playing are like more like we had back in the 90s, right? And that they're also things that they can be more involved in, like can say learn from other people, or like even learn different languages. Because at the moment, the good thing about AI is that we can like try and find a way to like the languages that are disappearing to like create a database, and so it's easy for them. So I think when we have multilingual children, it also helps them tackle ideas differently. in more different ways, and it also helps them in the future as well. I think that could be a good way with like mobile gaming, that we could use things like Duolingo to help them learn different languages, and also not just learn the languages and speak them, but learn how people think in those languages and how they have their worldview, and so bring more context to it. So I think that could be a different way of like changing how mobile games are and could help the children.
Nagawa, thank you very much. That contribution was very profound. We have Siva Prakash joining us. Siva, good to have you on the call, on the panel. Please introduce yourself, tell us where you're joining us from, and your inspiration for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name, Salvation.
Yeah, sure, Salvation. Or Salvi.
Shalvi. Okay. Thank you, Shalvi. Thanks for the opportunity. My name is Siva Prakash. I'm a software architect at Electric America. Electric America is a charging company where we are pioneering on the non-Tesla related charges. Wherever you go on the EV market, you must be seeing the charges outside. It's kind of one of the primary green technology that we are pushing towards electric vehicle and also charging infrastructure. So that's where we are, and I'm part of their journey, and I'm happy that what I'm doing every day to help people to help the environment clean. So that's where I am. So that's pretty much from my side. Thank you for giving the opportunity again.
Yeah, you're welcome very much, Siva. Right? Hope I pronounced your name correctly. Sorry, Siva.
Siva.
Yeah. You're very welcome, Siva, and great work with keeping the energy clean. Very important. Siva, we're discussing about human possibility, building for generations ahead, and I personally think that we are the generation to build what's going to come for the next generation. And it starts now, it starts today, it starts with what we're building, what we're prototyping, the ideation we have in the pipelines that are waiting for investors or whatnot. And we've talked about ethics, we've talked about responsible use of AI. Ian and Devin are educationists, and they've shared with us on how to protect, the students, teach them how to learn differently from using artificial intelligence, which is AI. Beth, Cam, and Dr. Hemat have also shared from the parental view and shared other perspective with us. So, Siva, I want you to take us to the next question. Share with us how intergenerational perspective inform more responsible innovation design.
Okay. What I could think of is that the idea behind is that it's an intergenerational thing.
Oh, we lost Siva there. Beth, please let me come back to you. What do you have? Do you have anything to chime in on this?
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things. I've been really lucky in that I knew 3 of my great grandparents. I knew all of my grandparents. My children knew a couple of their great grandparents. So I think it's very nice when that happens. I know that we're very blessed in that way, and not everyone has that opportunity. But I do believe that having that intergenerational knowledge, that memory, that family history, the traditions, the culture, the behaviors get passed down from generation to generation is important. And those stories are not necessarily something that's going to show up in technology. It's not going to show up in AI. It's not going to show up in the answers, because those models haven't necessarily always been trained on all of the stories, all of the history. And so I think that part of it is, how do we add those stories so that they're more widely known and that they are shared. And a big part of that is a generosity of sharing of different cultures and different backgrounds. And then that also helps inform the innovative design, right? So as you're exposed to new thinking, new behaviors, new practices, what does that change in your worldview? And so I think that all of those things are really important, and having that institutional memory of your family is very important and very nice when it can be shared.
Very much true. The wisdom of the old. But with what you just shared, I can also share that I am privileged to have had my grandma till I was 16. So you can imagine how long. And most of the things I personally know now was what I learned from my grandma. How to make it kind of meal, the recipes. I don't think I would have gotten that maybe if she wasn't there, And when you say intergenerational wisdom, it also brings me to culture, right? The cultures we share. Are we also bringing culture forward? I would like Dr. Hammett to contribute to this. Are we also passing down along the culture to our kids for the next generation, or is everybody going Gen Z with with fashion, education, and all that? Are we passing our culture to the next generation? Are we telling them this is the recipe? Are we telling them this is the story that made our people? This is the wisdom we got from our parents, our forefathers, and we want to pass it to you. Can you preserve this knowledge? Can you take it along with you? Is it going to be part of you? Dr. Hammett, please tell us.
This is so funny because I used to be such a culture breaker. And then I realized how vital this is. I think now I'm speaking as a Generation X. I often feel like if I'm talking to a millennial, Gen Z, where they have no clue what life was like before any of this. There are a few of us who still remember truly. Now, that depends on where you are in the world, right? But that really, really, truly remember. And that remembering is very important to determine how to use technology going forward, if that makes sense. It's super vital. And I almost feel like those of us who are more senior, you got to get out of the mindset that these are my kids and those are your kids and do whatever. I have to be an advocate for those who don't have the parents and mothers or grandfathers, whatever, around. Let's just first call about what human is, right? And I know that sounds silly to say, forget culture for a moment. Let's just talk about what is it to be human, right? And then you look at what are the cultural norms that were healthy, that we need to keep, that we must keep, and which ones are those that are okay not to keep. That's something that you only get when you're further in the life game. Right? There are certain things that I know 20-year-olds right now and 30-year-olds think that are yeah. And I'm like, bitch, just wait till you get to this part. That's not a good idea. But you had to learn, and you only get that when you're older. And I think that we can't, honestly, regardless, I guess, of culture, I am fascinated. I've always been fascinated with the voices of older people. And do not mistake what they're telling you. They're giving you really important information. And we need to make sure they're part of the dialogue. Even when they're like, well, I don't know about that. There's something about it that you need to just stop and go, there's some truth that they have that we don't have. How do I make sure that I preserve the lesson of their life that they're sharing with me in what I'm doing? And the culture is part of that, right? The traditions, these beautiful things that got us here still get to be a part of getting us there. And I feel like a lot of times we fight the culture, and I'm talking about whether it's religion, whether it's political, whether it's tribal. We just want to just throw the whole thing out instead of going, wait a second, what about that got us here? Because some of it got us here. Some of it's really good stuff that we can't throw out. And that discernment is something that every one of us needs to do, but we're culturally doing. I feel like culturally we're doing it right now. What do we do? Where are we going from here? We have all the information, all the technology. What do we do now? And the question is, what do we want to choose from the cultures that serve us? And what do we want to let go? And that's not something I want 20-year-olds answering, no offense, or 30-year-olds alone. I want 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds, 70-year-olds at the table because they're going to speak with wisdom.
Thank you very much, Dr. Vermont. I think that's spot on. Cam, I'm coming over to you. I see you smiling. I want you to share your different perspective with us. What do you think? Cam, you're muted. Please unmute.
I think when you have one generation in the room, you optimize for efficiency. And I think that when you have multiple generations in the room, you're optimizing for durability. And it's interesting the doctor brought up, he didn't, and there's a quote from Dickens, man, when he's 20, in his 20s and 60s, thinks he knows everything. He did skip the 60s in that category. So I think having a broad perspective, because we don't want to have long-term mistakes that could have been avoided if you just had more voices in the room looking at the long-term consequences instead of looking so short-term, which everyone is looking for short-term results, not long-term.
Right. That was a spot on.
And how do we change that? And how do we change that, right? The question for our society is, how do we become long-term planners? It's like begging, like tech is begging us to like wake up and become long-term planners again. To the seventh generation, the natives planned for the seventh generation of impact. We need that kind of thinking to return.
Yeah, we do. You know, when you said people like the 20s always think they know everything. I once felt like that before when I was in my early 20s. Like, I know it all. Everything you say to me, I figured it out. So there's nothing you can say to me, I not know it all. And I was so exposed to books early. My dad is also an educationist. So I was really exposed to books. I felt like I figured it out. But over the years, I hear the sound of the voice of my mom saying, Salvi, you cannot do this. I want to take this decision. I'm hearing the voice of my dad saying, if I was doing this, I won't be the one taking this decision, you know? So it's very important how the contributions of the elderly in our life can change how we live a life. Very, very, very key. And, you know, sometimes when you have kids and it feels like they are not listening, they're not paying attention, you keep saying one thing over and over and over again. Trust me, 10 years down the line, your voice is the first thing they hear. They want to make the decision, they're hearing, oh, my mom used to say this, oh, my dad used to say this. It's very important we preserve the wisdom of the past for the present, for the future. It's very important. Ian, I'll be coming over to you with the next question. We have less than 15 minutes for this conversation. Tell us, what are the trade-offs? What are the trade-offs today? What trade-offs today could create irreversible consequences tomorrow? What are we doing now that can affect tomorrow?
All right. Well, I mean, I think it could be what we already have discussed. I think something irreversible could happen, like it could be misuse, like the most sophisticated AI. I mean, the technology advancement. I think it's all about human like emotion, like right. It's about human mental health. Because of the fast changing environment, many people are going through some mental health issues because they having difficulty keeping up with the pace of change of the world, and they feel like they are lagging behind, and they feel like they are left behind and they are left alone. There's nobody, especially nowadays in the digital world. Like people can live their life without seeing others in person, and that makes them even more isolated. So we really need to focus on human emotion, and once like human emotion is like sort of broken down, like it takes a lot of time to recover their mentality, and that's exactly what I went through as well. Like when I several years ago, and so hopefully like we would like to focus on this part so that not many suffer from this issue. Yeah.
Right, I agree with you. Ian. I would also say, we're living with the whole speed ideology. I think that's the trade-off. I think we should also slow down. We should think about the mental health of ourselves, our family, the children we're raising, the neighbors that is not our kids, people around us. I think we should not trade off our mental health. I also think we should not trade off privacy. I don't know, but I feel very uncomfortable with the ideology that people stream their family house, stream everywhere. I don't know. This is a personal take now. Privacy it shouldn't be negotiable. Nagawa, we're talking about trade-offs and we have less than 5 minutes. Just tell us briefly, what trade-offs can we not compromise? We shouldn't compromise on. Tell us.
I think definitely when you're saying mental health, that's like very important. Also, like make sure like any ethical like AI is being implemented. Like as you mentioned, privacy is one. So making sure there's like no like social like kind of like social like monitoring, and also like the fact that like kids at the moment, it's like if they're on social media too early, it's like basically these like tools that they're using are like keeping like carrying a database of how they think, what they do, and how they mention. We definitely don't want that. We want to make
Yeah.
sure that things like that they're not basically there, because on the moment all those tools are free, right? And they're free because they want your data, so they can use your data for ads and so on, or for like creating more services and things like that. We definitely don't want that for kids now, and we want to make sure as well that like AI does not, with the amount of like energy it uses as well. We want to make sure that it helps create solutions just to mitigate mitigate climate change, because these kids are going to inherit like a planet later on. We want to make sure it's one where it's like it's livable. It's like not,
Yeah.
because even at the moment we're seeing how the effects of climate change are already like quite visible. We want to make sure that like whatever AI solutions are there, like it helps them live in this planet, because there's no planet B. I think those are definitely one of the high trade-offs that we need to think about.
I totally agree with you, Nagawa. We have less than 5 minutes, so we're going to do a very brief one sentence line of words, and we're going to say what skills that shouldn't be automated or outsourced for young people. Calm, I would just one sentence. Tell us what skills do young people need that shouldn't be automated or outsourced.
Reliability.
I love that one.
Yeah,
Reliability.
in today's world, you need it because eventually you'll be in a relationship. You won't want to do something your spouse for something for your spouse, but you have to be reliable in all areas of life. Reliability will beat smarts.
I totally agree with you, Calm. Thank you very much. Beth, tell us one word.
One word. Oh, that's tricky. I would think empathy. I'll go with empathy.
I'm a big fan of empathy, Beth. I agree with you on that. We need more people to be empathetic in society. We do. Thank you. Dr. Hermot.
I'm going to go with my name, love.
Oh,
I think the practice of loving yourself, loving others, it is the powerful energy that we have all been seeking this entire life experience. And if we don't preserve it and retain it in our youth, we have failed.
Right. Love is important. Love is powerful. Love is preserving. We need love. Devin, please tell us.
Well, since all the good ones have been taken, no, I'm joking. I'm saying comprehension.
Comprehension.
Because a lot of times we're not comprehending, we're not understanding what's happening around us and what we need to do for ourselves. So I would say comprehension is a big thing going forward. I was going to say critical thinking, but I was like, that's 2 words. So.
Yeah. That what you just said now with comprehension, understanding reminded me of the verse that said something about wisdom. Should ask for wisdom, but in all that getting, should get understanding. Yeah, very important. Thank you, Ian.
Yeah. Every point has been already mentioned, I guess, but I'll say, in terms of education, I think kids need sort of like a self-motivating ability, like so that they can push themselves forward to learn new things with critical thinking ability, and actually, in many cases, it seems like the nowadays smart students become smarter when they use AI, like a technology like AI, not smart students become not smarter. I mean, I wouldn't say they become dumber, but actually it can happen. They can become dumber. Like if they don't know how to use it properly. So they need to. I think learning is about passion. It's about using our energy. So they need to learn how to motivate themselves, and they need to be more passionate about learning, which will make them be a more efficient learner, and that will make them have a better critical thinking abilities. I think.
Yeah, Ian, I think I would love us to stay more on this call if our time permits us. So self-motivation it is for me. Thank you very much. Nagawa, just one word and we can say goodbye.
Creativity helps in problem solving. Definitely that.
Thank you very much, Nagawa. I think I heard from all of you one of the most beautiful conversation and contribution. Thank you very much for joining this panel conversation. Your contributions, your perspectives, they were listened to, they were heard. The audience, I'm sure you learned a lot from this roundtable panel discussion. I had a very great pleasure listening to you and contributing. Our Gather was well panelists. Take care, good night. From here, of course, good morning to you. Bye.
And as quick as it comes, as quick as it goes, we've just now concluded our Day 2 GatherVerse Summit 2026 with Day 3 to arrive. What an enlightening conversation and discussion. Greetings to everyone that comes to join us from GatherVerse.live and the various social streams. It accumulates as we go further and end towards the day on how many people are viewing us. And candidly, we don't completely know due to the functionality of even our studios that we have on just how many of you are out there, but we hear from you each and every day. And we're very happy to know that you've taken time to join us. We certainly don't take it for granted. Russell, what is your synopsis on the roundtable that we just had that was led by Salvation Shigeru, which is just excellent and rather incredibly moderated?
Yeah, I think so many interesting points have been brought up. I think that one interesting point that got brought up was about the mind, the human mind, and how it can alter the human mind and stuff like that as well. I think it's very important to think about as well. And overall, I think with the whole, I think also just in terms of AI as a whole, and also the interactions between human and AI and everything like that as well. I think honestly, it's just going to change all our lives, and I think we're all thinking about what could potentially happen or how it can affect us, but I don't think any of us really truly know how it's going to affect us from all the discussions that we had today and yesterday, and even me and you talk, Chris, as well. I don't think that we truly know what's going to be hitting us. Even we can guess, but I don't think we'll find out until it actually happens,
Yeah,
so, yeah.
I think about something that Cam had made mention of. I thought was really insightful on this roundtable discussion, and thank you for that. It's the way that we're receiving technology at such a rapid clip is it leads to something different in terms of our comprehension palette, and start thinking about our perception and ultimately our cognitive filter. We are not used to moving at this heightened pace with this much efficiency. What does that mean, Russell, when we start talking about the perception post-inference impact when it comes to the brain, when it comes to thinking? We in the business and the industry, we talk about brain rot, but at the same time, we talk about hyperscaling, and we talk about acceleration. What do you perceive those two differences are on that?
So scientifically, what we do know right now is, and obviously this is just from what I've seen, I'm not saying that this is everything, but from what we've seen so far, especially when we're using ChatGPT and Gemini and models like that, our capabilities and how we think and what we do, how we act, what we say, etc., is influenced by AI, right? In a nutshell.
Sure.
Now, long term, we don't know what those effects are going to be, but could it be that we end up being hybrid, as some people, some testing has been going on where they've put hybrid chips into human brains? I don't know that, but what I do know is that we have to keep our own human minds trained also at the same time while we're using AI, right? So I'm saying we got to do both things. One, use AI every day and stuff like that, of course, and learn from AI, sure. And also fact check everything, make sure you verify everything, etc. Everything that we've spoken about. And two, make sure that we also train our own human minds too, as in reading books, doing our own discovery when it comes to asking questions and like using Google and stuff like that. So I know that's like the old-fashioned way, but you're still using your own brain versus just relying only on AI. And I think you have to do both sides in order to make sure that you keep your mind active as we move forward into this AI age.
And I find that fascinating. We talk about that, there's this idea of the human brain, which we barely know anything about, which is the most powerful computational tool or being that exists on this planet, if you will, biologically. I find it interesting. There's so many professors and so many of those in studying saying that we need to have more world models, which is being developed, and be world models because the human brain is able to intake all this data. And that language or the way that we're building models and scaling and hyperscaling simply isn't as efficient and accurate. I would kick back on that, Yann LeCun. I know he's not watching, but I hope this would get back to him. I'd be happy to debate Yann LeCun on this, where he thinks that the brain cannot be able to scale just as we scale large language foundational models with data. What are dreams about? I mean, think about that. The magnitude of a dream. You see things in your dreams that you've never seen before with your own eyes, yet it's there. It's present.
True.
We don't understand the capabilities of the black box. And when it comes into mechanistic interpretability, when it comes to cognitive interpretability, we don't understand that. So the idea that we completely could say that the definitive way is to be able to go into a world model, it's not the way. This is more complex than any godfather or godmother could take on the challenge. And I think there needs to be more of a global cloud consensus to have a better appreciation for where we're at with this.
And also I would add to that as well, universal verification too.
Certainly, verification of these tools, verification of the black box, the instances, more so than just what we have with the various types of benchmarks, Swedebitch, Humanities Last Exam, and ArcAGI, so forth and so on. We need more, and we need ultimately, when it comes to AI, greater transparency, verifiable trust.
I like that.
Thank you for joining us at this day 2, audience. And for those that will be joining us on day 3 for GatherVerse Summit 2026, there is much to share. As quick as it comes, as quick as it goes, as we started in the beginning, we'll still say in the end that when we concluded GatherVerse Summit, the very first one we had, which is our 5th annual, war began between Russia and Ukraine. There may be another war that looks like it's preparing in the Middle East, but in the Middle East, we say peace on the Middle East. If there's a way to be able to figure things out before bullets fly, drones soar, jets land and take off, there is a way for peace. And who's ever listening? I hope that you would find it. There's also another brew of war that's happening in this world. Excuse me. And it's the global AI arms race. Right now, Dara Amadei went to the Pentagon here in the U.S. This may seem controversial because it is. But he goes to the U.S. and now, apparently and allegedly, he's left with a decision to make. remove the safeguards of what may be the most powerful AI set of models in the world, remove that for the Pentagon, or face the consequences. Dario and Anthropic, I hope that you're listening. I hope that you hold enough integrity to keep those safeguards on until you believe that it's safe to remove them. This technology is abundant, it's wild, and can be radical and emotionally aligned. We have to safekeep that which we are innovating. And we're, in some degrees, entrusting those of the innovator community to do your level best to provide an atmosphere and an environment of safe technological usage. Now, ultimately, Anthropic, you'll have to make the decision. If you think it is in the best interest to remove the safeguards, then it's the decision you made. But all I ask is to do it. And if you're going to remove it, I ask you this one question. Are people safer or less safe because you decided to remove, be it whatever consequence that you would face? And what would be of the two of the greater consequence? To remove it or not to remove it? I believe there may be a consequence no matter what you do. With GatherVerse Summit 2026, Day 2, at this conclusion, we thank each of you for joining us, for listening, for the many hundreds and thousands of people that join us year-round, for those that take this as serious as it needs to be, for those that realize the alarming urgency of this matter, even though there is optimism. AI in the hands of others that do not know this technology and that would leverage it towards others to do harm is a real threat. And if we do not ethically teach and guide our innovators and our non-innovators, if we don't teach people the way forward for greater mechanisms of transparency and verifiable artificial intelligence systems, if we don't do it, then something else will. This is the most important time of innovation that you and I will ever know. And our future generations will ask, in this day, what, oh my goodness, did you do? For they will inherit what we innovate tonight. For all of the speakers that joined us today are gathered as well, and then tomorrow, gather be well. Thank you.
Orleans. satisfied is when he's on a drug. Oh, mothers, tell your children not to do what I have done. Spend your lives in sin and misery in the house of the rising sun. Well, I got one foot on the platform, the other foot on the trail. Going back to New Orleans to wear that ball and chain. Well, there is a house in New Orleans they call the Rising Sun, and it's been the ruin of many a poor boy. And God, I know